2022 NFL Draft coverage on Keon Sports is brought to you by JBL Roofing and Construction. Sports fans and homeowners alike, let me take this moment to tell you about JBL Roofing and Construction. JBL is a licensed, bonded, and an insured contractor with experience to complete any job needed for your home or property. Let our team of professionals help you with vinyl siding, windows, roofing, and gutters. Get the job done right the first time and stress-free with JBL. Call them today at 330-677-9463. That's 330-677-9463. Or visit them on the web at jblrc.com. Jeffrey Protects Insurance. In today's day and age, insurance from someone you can trust is more important than ever, and you won't make a better choice than Jeffrey Protects Insurance. At JPI, they specialize in Medicare, healthcare services, and life insurance. Visit them at jeffreyprotects.com or call them at 330-304-7267. That's 330-304-7267. Dave's Golden Shear Barbershop, a staple of the community since 1954. Dave's Golden Shear Barbershop has been your trusted barber for nearly a century of great haircuts. With affordable prices and excellent customer service, there is no better place to get your cut. It is located at 26915 Center Ridge Road in Westlake. And TNT Construction, your top choice for residential, commercial remodeling, construction, and building services, not only in Cleveland, but all of Northeast Ohio. Look them up today at tntcleveland.com. We're nearly midway through April now, and draft coverage has been underway for months. Preparation has been going into this. Again, you're taking a look at prospect rankings for the quarterbacks, the first position group here of this 2022 draft class that we're going over here on Keon Sports. Again, I'm Cole McDaniel. Good to be with everybody out there who's paying attention, watching this video, read through the article. Again, you're looking for the top three of the quarterbacks. And before we touch on the quarterbacks, again, want to mention how excited I am for this draft coming up. Again, make sure to tune in for our draft show on Thursday and Friday night, the first two nights of the draft. Myself, Brandon Soder-Penner, Vince McKee, and Dom Clary. Again, the four of us, we're going to have a great time as always, so make sure to tune in for that. Before we dive in to these prospects, and I unveil my top three of the quarterbacks, the big conversation with this quarterback class has been, it's a lot weaker than the previous classes in past years. Although that might be true, okay, definitely is not, we're not steering you wrong. It is true. The thing is, we haven't seen these guys play in the NFL. There have been classes in the past that we thought would be really, really good that didn't really pan out to be anything. So what we're looking at here with this group, again, yes, is it weaker in the sense of, are there really any top guys that you can definitively say this guy will be elite? He's going to be a long-term, tenured starter in the league. No, we can't definitively say that. I don't think anybody really can with this class. As for depth, again, no, there's not a lot of depth. There's not a ton of talent. There are a couple guys at the top that we know are going to go early, but again, we're going to touch on that here in just a moment. But you've seen all the way up to number 4 here on the article, so let's get to number 3. Starting off with number 3, Malik Willis, Liberty University. Malik Willis is an interesting quarterback here because he has a lot of hype around him coming into this draft. Again, looked at as possibly the top prospect out there, very highly regarded, and it's because of the athleticism he possesses. He has a ton of speed as a runner. He can make the big play with his arm. People love Malik Willis. There has been a lot of hype the last couple months. Kenny Pickett had been looked at as that number 1 guy for a while, but then Malik Willis, for many, ended up jumping Pickett here in the last couple of months. So you're going to see that most people will think that Willis will be the first one off the board, although I can't disagree with where he's going to go. We'll touch on that in a minute. He's my number 3 on the board. So a couple good things to break down with Willis. I talked about the ability he has. His highlight film is an absolute must-watch. If you haven't checked it out yet, you need to. He's always a big playmaker. He's an extremely shifty runner and has that explosive burst in open space. His unique running ability is coupled with a cannon for an arm. He can launch it down the field with the best of them. Really has those jaw-dropping plays. That is an absolute given with Willis. But he does struggle with ball security. Again, sometimes when he's running down the field, turning on the jets, again, a little bit loose with the football, not tucking it into his side, not protecting it. Again, sometimes defenders can come up and knock that out of his hands, force a fumble. As a passer, again, he is a big play guy. He's going to launch it down the field. It's probably going to result in a touchdown or it's going to result in an interception. There's no in-between for him. Teams are looking for their next Lamar Jackson in a high-powered offensive league. Really, they're looking for their next star quarterback. For those that want that added dimension of a runner, Malik Willis gives them that. That's why he's looked at so highly, and he's a high-character guy as well. So, in search of the next Lamar Jackson, out of this class, there's only one guy you can look at as being that type of player. That's Malik Willis. Okay, I'm going to touch on my player comparison right now. His player comparisons, as a runner, he is a lot like Lamar Jackson. He's the most similar I have seen to Lamar Jackson. As a runner, he has that speed. It's just there. He can stop on a dime and cut back. Again, he has a ton of ability there. As a passer, he throws it like a guy who absolutely was slinging the football in college. Geno Smith at West Virginia. Geno Smith launched that ball around the field, but he was a big play guy as well. A lot of touchdowns, handful of interceptions as well. Again, that just comes with the willingness to launch the ball down the field and try to make that big play. It didn't work out for Geno Smith when he got into the league. Again, he's still there. He's a backup quarterback, but again, he didn't really take off as a starter. We'll see if Willis can refine his skills so he can succeed, but he definitely has that dual threat ability that a guy like Geno Smith did not have. My projection for Malik Willis of when he'll go, he will probably be the first quarterback off the board. Top 15 is my guess. In the first round, teams are going to be looking for him early. Who are his best fits? Best fits for him, Seattle. They still need a quarterback. Drew Lock is there, part of that Russell Wilson trade. I like Drew Lock. I think there's some potential there. Do I think Seattle sold on Drew Lock? No, I do not. So definitely Seattle is in the mix. Carolina, I would not be surprised to see the Panthers make a move for Malik Willis. Sam Darnold, we've seen what we've seen from him. We know what he is. A bottom tier starting quarterback, maybe an upper tier backup quarterback. There's also been some injury history with him. I just don't see too much of him lasting as a long-term starter. Maybe they'll try to run him out again, but I'm not sure about that. And also, we saw them go to Cam Newton for a while last year, and again, he's a runner. Malik Willis, at this point, a better runner than Cam Newton. He has more speed than Newton does. He definitely has more of an arm, as Newton's arm has pretty much been shot here as he had spent a little bit of time out of the league, bouncing around from team to team and found his way back to Carolina. So, again, I don't think those are those primary options. They could stick with Darnold, but I wouldn't be surprised if they make a move on Willis. Next up is Houston. I think Houston would be a great fit there. They seem to be happy with Davis Mills. I'm not sold on Davis Mills. Hey, Malik Willis is a better talent. That's just a proven fact, okay? We know that Malik Willis is better. Mills is not a bad quarterback. There is some potential there. Is he the franchise quarterback they need? No, they're going through a rebuild. Willis would be a great one for them to pick up, and he has that ability behind a not-so-great offensive line to escape the pressure. Might work out in Houston. And then the wild card, a team that I don't think will pull the trigger on Willis, but I could see him being there, is the Pittsburgh Steelers. They picked up Mitch Trubisky. Trubisky's now there, likely the starter at the moment. At least he's the starter on the depth chart. Still looking for that starting quarterback. I'm not sold that the Steelers are sold on Mitch Trubisky as the starter. So could they make a move on a guy like Willis? Maybe. And it would be interesting to see Willis in the same division with Lamar Jackson, who is one of my comparisons for him. Next up, number 2. Number 2 is Kenny Pickett of Pittsburgh. So Pickett was a Heisman finalist this past season. Really had a great year as a senior at Pittsburgh. He has a lot of playing experience from his time in college. He really looked like the total package coming into the year and then throughout the year. He has good size. He has the necessary toughness and a strong arm. Mobile when he needs to be, but again, he's very competent in the pocket, and usually he is fairly accurate. A lot of good things I can say about Kenny Pickett. Now, in the last month, through the combine process, there's been a lot of talk about the hand size with Kenny Pickett. I'm not too concerned about the hand size. I think that's a little bit overvalued. Is it helpful to have bigger hands in the snow, in the cold, in the rain, when the football is wet? Yes. But Kenny Pickett, again, he puts those gloves on, and he's one of the only quarterbacks out there I know of that regularly throws with the wide receiver gloves on, and it seems to really help him. That helps with the grip, helps that football stay in his hands, keeps it secure, and he passes well with it. He's just used to it. So the hands, not too big of an issue. So a few things that I think Kenny Pickett can improve on. At times, I do think he gets a little over antsy and tries to flee the pocket a little bit early rather than standing in there and being able to just continue to go through his progressions. It's not always, but especially in games where he was feeling a little bit more pressure against more talented teams like when they would play Clemson. Again, had that tendency to start flushing out of the pocket a little bit early. I'd like to see him go through the progressions a bit longer. When he gets out and gets out of the pocket and is doing that regularly, again, he has that strong arm I talked about, but he can get overconfident in that arm on the move, trying to rifle it into tough, tight spaces, has a tendency to overthrow that receiver. When it sails high, again, it can result in interceptions. A guy that we've seen issues with that here in Cleveland was Baker Mayfield. Strong arm, try to fit it in there into tight spaces, maybe overconfident in that arm, would sail it high, would result in those interceptions. So, again, that might be a little bit of a concern, but that being said, there's so much that's good about Pickett that those little things can be worked on and improved. He will be a starter very quickly in the NFL, if not immediately after he is selected. Best comparisons for Kenny Pickett. I already talked about those two guys. Big Ben, there's some similarities there. The size, he's a little bit smaller, again, but that glove on the hand a lot of times reminds me of Big Ben Roethlisberger. But I think his ability to sit back there in the pocket, to be able to dissect the defense and, hey, make some really good plays. Big Ben did a lot of that during his career. Baker Mayfield as well, a little bit of a comparison there, and that's when, again, getting too overconfident with the arm and sailing it, that's the downside and the negative side. But Kenny Pickett overall, again, a very talented quarterback, things that can be worked on and absolutely developed, because I do think he's not nearly as stubborn as some other quarterbacks out there, would be willing to learn, work with a quarterback guru to help fix some minor things. Where he's going to fall, it's going to be in the first round. Will it be top 15, top 20, top 30? I don't know, but my guess is he will be a first-round pick. Best fits for him. Pittsburgh. Big Ben just left. Why not replace Big Ben with a quarterback that has some resemblance to him? Pittsburgh would be a fantastic fit for Kenny Pickett, especially because he also played at Heinz Field for home games. So really wouldn't have to go anywhere and get to stay right where he is now. Seattle is also up on the board. Again, mentioned them still needing a quarterback. Detroit, that wouldn't be bad as well. Jared Goff is there. Kenny Pickett, Jared Goff, it might be a little bit of a quarterback battle. I'm not sure who would win that early on. I would say Kenny Pickett might have the opportunity to take that job. Maybe not right away. But Jared Goff, again, his time's probably going to be ticking on that clock here pretty shortly. I don't think he's going to have a ton of time to be that starting quarterback there. He was really masked by the talent of the Los Angeles Rams. I think he's having some issues in Detroit. We will see how long they stick with him as the starter. And then the last one, the wild card team, the New York Giants. Daniel Jones, a mobile quarterback. Some people value him highly. I look at him as one of those bottom tier guys of the starters in the league. I don't think Daniel Jones has that much longer in his career before he's no longer the starter. So perhaps the Giants could start making a move and prepping early on. Next, for my number one quarterback. Not a quarterback that most people would put as their number one on their big boards. As for me, I'm a huge fan of Desmond Ritter of Cincinnati. I had mentioned earlier in this show, not really many quarterbacks that we can definitely say are elite in this class, or that I can say would be elite in this class. I don't know. These three guys are the most likely to have that potential. Do I think Willis and Pickett will be elite? Not from what I've seen prospect-wise, but I would say Ritter has that ability. Most people, he's looked at as the fourth, fifth best quarterback, at highest the third. Why I look at him as number one is because I see the potential to be elite. He might not have played his best football in the college football playoffs against Alabama, which if people didn't watch Cincinnati throughout the season, you just saw the semifinal game against Alabama. Alabama's defense absolutely was a mismatch for the offensive line of Cincinnati. The talent discrepancy was absolutely evident there. So Ritter didn't have as much time in the pocket, as much time to go through his reads and go through his progressions, and that did hurt his play. So a lot of people started writing off Desmond Ritter, but they shouldn't have. They really should not have, because the whole season, Ritter was a talented quarterback. That game against the Crimson Tide was his worst game all season, and he still made some really good throws, put some throws on the money, showed off his ability with not even having a nearly perfect game. Again, he can make really every throw on the field, but I like the way he stands tall in the pocket, goes through those progressions, he's comfortable. He's very calm in the pocket as well. I think he possesses a toughness to sustain a long career. All he just needs is a little bit of work on his mechanics and make sure that with touching on the mechanics, he can be more accurate and put the ball where he needs to deliver it every single time in that same spot. If he can do that, again, he is good to go. He also has a ton of speed when he takes off and runs, which also adds a little bit of a read option ability in him, even though I expect that he'll sit in the pocket and just deliver strikes throughout the game. So a couple player comparisons for Desmond Ritter. If I believe that he's going to be the best prospect of this group with the potential to be elite, who could he compare to? There's two guys. Justin Herbert's the first one that comes to my mind because of the length, standing tall in the pocket, delivering those strikes. Now, Herbert might have a slightly stronger arm than Ritter, but there's a lot of similarities there. There's a little bit of Deshaun Watson as well. Again, both of those guys, Watson and Herbert, they have some mobility, they have some speed, they can move outside of the pocket as well as stand in there and be elite quarterbacks. That's a lot for Ritter to live up to. Will he start immediately? He absolutely could, depending upon the situation, but I also wouldn't mind if he had 1 or 2 years to learn, but he should be able to play very, very shortly, and I wouldn't be surprised if he has a really good career. So where will he fall in the draft? Either the first or the second round. If it were me, he'd be the first quarterback off the board, but somebody might be able to catch him in the second round if he does not go in that first, which is also a possibility. Best fits for him. Miami. Miami's really reloading that roster, adding Tyreek Hill. Wide receivers helpful. They had a good roster last year. Tua Tagovailoa, fine quarterback to hold you over until you're getting your next star quarterback, your next elite quarterback. If the Dolphins were to draft Desmond Ritter, Ritter would likely beat out Tua and take that job right away. The New Orleans Saints would also have Desmond Ritter as a starter right away. I think he could beat out Jameis Winston. Winston's very inconsistent. There is still some ability with Winston, again, but he's got that unpredictability of, is it going to be a 4-touchdown game or a 4-interception game? You don't know. I think Ritter would be able to protect the ball better and really start to establish there in New Orleans. Tampa Bay. Tom Brady did come back, but I don't think that Blaine Gabbert is back up. Kyle Trask, I don't think those are the guys to take over when Tom Brady leaves and is gone for sure. And he's gone officially, and not saying that he's coming back out of retirement and coming to play again. They've given Gabbert a lot of praise there in Tampa, but Desmond Ritter is absolutely a step up. Learn from Tom Brady for a year or two, then be ready to go and take over that Bucs franchise. My wild card team would then be the Indianapolis Colts. The Colts, they picked up Matt Ryan. Matt Ryan, a talented quarterback. Last year was maybe his worst year of his career, not because of his own doing. Calvin Ridley was then out for most of the season. They had brought in Kyle Pitts at tight end. Cordero Patterson, a couple other guys, Russell Gage were stepping up, but they didn't quite have the weapons that they had had in the past. Made things a lot tougher for Matt Ryan. He still has ability in that arm. He's still a good quarterback, but his time is also nearing an end, and he might be a one-year holdover for the Colts. So why not bring in a guy like Desmond Ritter, sit behind Matt Ryan for a year, maybe be able to take over the year following. That does it for the quarterback rankings for 2022. More prospect rankings coming up shortly on Key On Sports.